All right, y'all. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I would build an off-market campaign for Anderson, South Carolina. Um, to find, like the idea is to find 1 to 4 off-market rental properties that actually cash flow because let's face it, it's been a minute since anything on the MLS has done that. However, earlier today we had one of our virtual sessions in our community, and one of our members closed on a property that he found on the MLS. So, congrats to Tyler. Congrats to 2 properties he bought today. One being from the MLS, and we are starting to see that more and more in some of the other markets. We've been hearing from other members who are finding properties on the MLS. However, I'm still going to preach and teach off market because it's one of the things where we've found our best returns at. So, hey, y'all, my name is Jay Helms. I am founder of the W2 Capitalist and BRRRRs for Busy Parents. My wife and I, plus hundreds of moms and dads in our community, have used this very system that I'm about to go over with to buy 1 to 4 rentals a year. Gives them time to still be focused on their job and also still time to raise those little boogers, right? Raise those little kids. So here's the real quick, simple plan for this video. We're going to do a quick market overview of Anderson, why it makes sense. We're going to talk about why it makes sense to target for BRRRRs. I'm going to show you how I would build a list for you if I were running your campaign, which we do for many other married busy parents, because who has time or who wants to stuff envelopes? Not a lot of people. We will, right? I'm going to show you what our mailers look like. And then finally, I'm going to show you, excuse me, I don't know where that came out of nowhere. Then I'm going to show you how to do a mail merge. So let's skip over. Let me make sure we're screaming. We're streaming. If you're here, say hello. Let me know that you can see us, see me, that we're live. Just drop it in the chat somewhere. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show that we're going to get into the market brief first. So this is just a quick little market brief over Anderson, South Carolina. Population 28,106. That is from the 2020 census. Now this is within Anderson city limits. Okay, so if you see that number, if you're from that area and you think, man, no, it's way more than that, you're probably right. But this is just within the city limits. The growth since 2010, this is one thing to really pay attention to. It is about, that's not a negative. I got to stop using the, what is that thing called? The tilde. That is roughly 10% growth since 2010. That's huge. That's amazing. That is directly from census.gov. Average days on market right now we saw is around 56 days. Not terribly hot, not terribly cold. Pretty interesting. The nearest major MSA, Anderson is kind of in it already. So if you're familiar with that part of the upstate of South Carolina, you've got Greenville, you've got Greer, you've got Anderson. You can see on the little map here that Clemson, home of Clemson University, is right up the road. So it's a very good spot, right? And Lake Hartwell, you see the big lake here. There's a couple of lakes around this area. A lot of getaways from people who live in the big city of Atlanta, which is about an hour plus just southeast of here on 85. So strong base for working families. Healthcare is a big industry there. Manufacturing jobs is also really big in the surrounding areas, like in Pendleton. Seneca is also here, not far from here. Looking at medium stuff. Median home value is 309. Median gross rent is $1,600 a month for a 3-2 single family resident. Now, I only verified that with one source, and if you've watched anything in the past, I like to verify that with a few sources, and we're probably going to look at some today that may do that. So here's why it makes it a good BRRRR fit. This is a mix of older brick homes and newer subdivisions, right? Home values and rents are lower than if you get up toward Greenville, but days on market are longer. So that tells me it's not as competitive, right? Prices are not as high. Days on market is not high, but you still have an influx of population due to the industry growth that's been happening there. And we like seeing 3-bed rentals under 300,000. Usually kind of the sweet spot is 150 to 300 depending on the area, kind of neighborhood you're looking at, right? That's why it still works as a BRRRR, right? I think that's it on this. This is I'm not going to go over that today. So that's our portfolio growth roadmap. So if you were to work with us, join us in the Coaching Plus community. This is something we're going to walk you through. It's a little bit more detailed than this, but I need to take this out for the next one that we're doing. Let's jump over to PropStream and let's get into building a list. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube or watching this on Facebook, somewhere around this video, there is a link to get 25,000 leads or 7 days free or something like that from PropStream. So if you're not a PropStream user, take full advantage of that. Do exactly what I'm doing here. I'm going to log in. I'm going to show you exactly how we pull lists, the filters we use, and everything that makes for a good BRRRR. So apologize for coughing in your ear. All right. So first thing we're going to bring up is we're going to search by Anderson, South Carolina. Sometimes when we're building campaigns for folks, we typically narrow down to zip codes. One of the reasons why that is when we choose, when we choose, that sounds very arrogant. When folks choose to work with us, we lock in their zip codes, somewhere between 3 and 5, because what we want to do is we want to work with them, right? And so through this system, through this process, we're not bringing on anybody else. We're not forcing competition onto you. We're working directly with that individual, and not anybody else. So when those zip codes are locked, they're locked out for as long as they're a member. For the sake of this video, I'm going to just choose Anderson, South Carolina. We're not going to look at any specific zip codes here. And as we can see, and here's where we're going to start applying the filters. I can't get to the mute button fast enough when I cough, so I'm sorry about that. Go to filters. We can see right away there's 59,300 properties. Now, this is everything, right? This is raw land. This is multifamily. This is single family. That's everything. We start out looking at this quick filter. PropStream makes this super easy. Tired landlords. Through this, we can see there's over 15,000 tired landlords, which is way too many to try to message. So we're going to narrow this down quite a bit. And we're going to build a list. Again, we're going to build it. We're going to export it. We're going to do the whole mail merge thing. I'll show you what it looks like and how easy it is. Easy for us, right? It may not be easy for you. You may not have time to do it. That's where we can come in and help you with that. But we're going to start with tired landlords. We want to look at specifically residential, and we're specifically looking at single family and multifamily 2 to 4 units. When I go through and click these filters, you're going to start seeing this number up here change. Okay. Sometimes it's going to go down. Sometimes it's going to go up. It's just going to change. We're looking for most of the people that we work with, when they send 300 to 500 mailers per quarter, that usually equates to 1 to 4 properties a year. Okay. So that's kind of the target number that we're looking for. We're going to leave, for this case, we're going to exclude HOAs. We're also going to exclude properties with pools. Now, I was talking to a gentleman 2 weeks ago, and he's in Las Vegas, and he said, no, we only look at properties in HOAs because we know they're in really good neighborhoods. We also look at properties that only have pools. Sounds good. And so, but for most everybody else, they don't want to deal with pools as a landlord. There's liability issues. There's also maintenance and upkeep. Just try to remove those. Same with HOA. I talked to a lady earlier this week where they bought a property in an HOA, not realizing that the HOA had a percentage of certain percentage of properties could be rentals. And so now she's on the waiting list, which is interesting. I didn't even know that rule could exist in HOA. So we just try, but for other reasons, we try to stay away from them. The other thing, we're going to skip down here to MLS. We're going to choose off market. There's no more stranger phone call than you get from a realtor who's got the property listed saying, why did you mail my client about their property? Why didn't you come to me? And it still happens. You know, there could be things in passing where you drop the piece of mail in the mail, and then the realtor gets the listing, right? That happens. But for the most part, we want to stick to off market. And then we're going to scroll down here. The last thing we're going to choose is owner information. We're going to look at just individuals. Reason that is they're a lot easier to get a hold of, right? You don't have to figure out who owns the LLC. Is it a multi-member? Do you have to we're looking for mom and pops, right? So we've got, let's see, make sure we've got all of our tired landlords. I just want to review that we chose all the right stuff that we normally do. Tired landlords, 1 to 4 units, excluding HOAs, excluding pools. By the way, I don't think I said this earlier. Tired landlord in the views of PropStream is somebody who's owned it for 15 years. Okay. Think of a little bit older owner. Sometimes these are older properties. Older owner plus older properties usually means deferred maintenance, which to us means buying opportunity, right, at the right price. Off market, owned by an individual. Okay. If we want to get super fun with this list, I try to narrow them down to 3 to 500. We can look at absentee owners, so out of state. There's only 200 of those. Take that off for a minute. And then, or if we wanted to stick within a certain price range, we want to stick within the 100. Oops, wrong one. 150,000 to 300,000 property value. We still have 1,280 properties. This is going to be a good. This will be a good campaign if somebody wants to do it or wants us to do it for them. The other thing about targeting tired landlords, usually that means, and we'll get into the mortgage here in a minute. Usually that means there's very little left on the mortgage, or there's no mortgage at all. Which, if you play your cards right now, you're not playing cards. If the seller is open to it, then that opens up the conversation to owner financing, right? So it's another reason why we target tired landlords. Let me go back up here to property details. When there's a lot of properties like this, we typically narrow it down to bed and bath. This just might do it. Because the best rental single family homes, right, are 3-bedroom, 2 baths. That narrowed it down way too much. So must be a lot of 3-1s. Yeah. Okay. Does that mean there's properties with 3 no baths? What's happening here? Let's stick with these 300. Okay. It makes no sense to me why when I just add a bath, it goes all the way down to 100. Anyway. One thing you got to accept is when you're dealing with information from any of these services like PropStream, they're all pulling county records. And, county records are just not that clean. Some counties are absolutely cleaner than others. Sometimes, like earlier this week, when the data is not updated, it works out in your favor. I'm just speaking from personal experience. All right, so back to the building of the list. We're going to choose all 306 properties, and we're going to save them. And we're going to name this list. We're going to say Anderson, South Carolina for live stream. You can skip trace. Skip trace does cost, I think it's like 10 or 12 cents per record. We as busy parents don't have time to dial 300 numbers. So we just need their mailing information. That's what we're going to do, right? So we're going to save this. It is going to take a minute to produce, and then we're going to go over here where it's going to be under my properties. I'm going to see this right here. And before we export this, we're going to do, can I close this? No. Before we export, we're going to do two things. Number one, we're going to scroll through here and we're going to make sure all properties have at least a number at the beginning. The reason for that is, can I move this? I don't want to hit the trash can. I think it's going to close everything. The reason we're looking for a number at the beginning is if again, back to cleaning up the data a little bit, right? If there's no street address, typically that means it's a vacant lot. For whatever reason, nothing was ever built on it. Nothing was ever built on it. And then for whatever reason, the county flagged it as a single family or 1 to 4 units, and it still hit all those criteria. I've just learned we've spent enough and got enough return mail on these things. They just didn't work out. So we removed those. So I'm going to remove those 3 records. There's one other thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to scroll over to so this is the property address. This is the rental property that we're interested in, right? This information over here is the owner. And so we're looking at their mailing address. The other thing that I do when I'm cleaning up data here is scroll down to the I first sort it. So it sorts by the numerical number. Then I go down to the very bottom and I eliminate all these PO boxes. Right now, the reason for that is because that is the number one return to sender problem that we run into. I'm just going to do a few here so that y'all don't have to. I didn't expect this many. That's a lot. But I would choose all the PO boxes, and then I would take the action to delete those records because I don't want to export them. I'm going to here just for just to show you this. So I'm going to choose export. We've got that. And then I don't think that y'all can see this. So let me see if I can share this real quick. I can share with you what that looks like. Nope. Be really great to show you that. Let's see, this is Excel. Okay, I'll just have to change that back. Anyway, talking to myself now. So this is the format that this comes out in. You have all the information. If we were to skip trace the numbers and find those would be here. Because we don't use them, we're going to delete them, right? We're going to get rid of them. There's a lot of information that we didn't look at. Unit number is something I typically scroll through here, like these are supposed to be single family or 2 to 4 units. Sometimes when it's a condo that's been labeled as a single family, but it's not, it's part of one of many in a building. Sometimes they get incorrectly classified as single family residence and not a condo. And so they'll show up here. So I'll go through and I'll clean that up too. I forgot to mention that earlier. Because essentially those are not properties that we want to go after. So the other thing that we see here, city, state, zip, this is all about the rental property. Is it owner occupied? These should all say no because we chose tired landlords, right? All of those are going to say no. And then we get into owner first name, owner last name. If there's a second owner, sometimes the mailing care of is different than the owners. I don't know why. Then their mailing address, if they have a unit number, their city, state, zip, and then there's more information on the actual properties. I don't actually use a lot of this. I just wanted to show you what it looks like when it comes out. So let's go back to now let's do our mail merge, right? So let's do our mail merge. I'm going to go back and change this so we can see Microsoft Word. I'm going to walk you guys through this. Okay. So this is an example of the template that we use. This is the very first mail that goes out. There's slight variations to this. For example, some of them we don't put the full address at the very top. Some of them we put the date over to the right. Sometimes we don't bold the city or the actual property address. There's just a couple of different variations that we use here. As we're trying to fine tune our system and get even better results than we typically get. What you should, if you use these templates and you do it quarterly, you should get around a 2% response rate, right? Which is pretty good. Here's how you do a mail merge, and I'm doing this with Microsoft Word. I know a lot of you probably use Google. I've never done a mail merge in Google. I have to imagine it's very similar process. So maybe I'll do one of those in the coming weeks. I'm going to cheat just a little bit. I already have my mail merge fields, as you can see when I tap on the app more, which is the city and the address of the rental property. The whole thing highlights in gray. It's because it's a mail merge field, right? So this is to Peggy. So is Peggy. She's the owner's name. So let's say you've got our template. You've updated it with your cell phone number. Let me go over the sales copy real quick, and then we'll do the mail merge. Hey, owner name. We have never met. This is part of the reason we do it this way is because we focus on relationship first, transaction later, right? We want to build a relationship with a tired landlord because if they're not ready to sell today, we know that they sell to people they know and trust. And this is our introduction to getting to know them and getting them to trust us, right? So it goes into, hey, owner's first name. We've never met. I'm looking to purchase more single family and small size rental properties in this case, it'd be Anderson. The purpose of this letter is to introduce myself in hopes that if you ever decide to sell the rental property address, that you'll think of me and give me the first opportunity to purchase. Sincerely, and then there's a wet signature on it, right? I give them my cell, encourage them to call or text, whatever it is their fancy. And then P.S., I'm not a realtor, which I'm not a realtor. Some of the folks that we work with are realtors, and they simply change. We change this P.S. for them. It says instead of I am not, it's I am a realtor. If you would like to, if I can't buy your property and you would like to make it available to the open market, happy to entertain that conversation as well, right? But we end with I intend to purchase 1 to 2 rentals in this case would be Anderson this year. I think even more importantly is the PPS. So you're dealing with a real person. Here's a pic of me and my family on or at a local spot, right? So this is, we invest near Pensacola Beach. This just happened to be a really fun photo, a really fun time that we did a couple years ago. So that's the sales copy, the reasons why we do it. Let's go through setting up this mail merge. So you're going to choose mailings, and you're going to choose on select recipients. Going to use an existing list, and we're going to go find where that downloaded. I don't know what y'all can see at the moment. I think you don't see the dialog boxes. So I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to find the list we just downloaded into Excel. And then there's going to be a pop-up, which you probably don't see that either. I got to figure out how to show you this. Just a security warning. I'm going to say yes to it. It's going to make sure to confirm properties. And then now you saw, once it engaged, you saw these change to what are considered the feelers, right? Or the merge fields. So now at this point, because we've done all this, we're ready to preview and print. So we can preview results. And what this is doing is pulling in from our Excel spreadsheet the owner's name, the city in which the rental property is located, and the address of that rental property. So we can scroll through and view all of them. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's kind of a time waster. What I like to do is just confirm with a couple, hey, yes, it is pulling the right information. Now we're ready to print, right? So we go over to finish and merge. I, for whatever reason, like to choose edit individual documents. Now this is going to open up a new window. I'm going to have to share that screen. Do y'all see that? No. Okay. Let me share with you what that looks like. Okay. So when you choose the finish and merge and you choose edit individual documents, it builds this massive Word doc, right? So if you'd see down here is page 1 of 292. And so these are all the letters, and I like to print mine this way. You can easily just choose finish and merge and then print. Either way should work, right? I like to spot check several of these because sometimes the names are longer, sometimes the city, sometimes this needs to be on a little bit different line. I don't like having words on their own line, so I would probably just change that. I would probably change this again. And if it continued to do that, I would just go back and mess with the template. But then from here, you just go to File and Print. Let the printer do its thing. When they come out, you start autographing them, stuffing them in the envelopes. Somewhere around this video is the envelopes that we use. Highly, highly recommend them because they are brightly colored. They're birthday card style envelopes. The biggest thing that we're trying to do with these mailers initially is make them not look like a piece of junk mail. That's it. So brightly colored birthday card style with a handwritten address is the best way that we found to do that. They open it up. Inside is very non-salesy, very personal sales copy. You're not trying to be this pushy, wholesaler from South Florida. Has nothing to do with Anderson, South Carolina, right? You live there. You're a member of the community. You want that potential seller to know that it's who you are. This question comes up a lot with folks who don't want to put pictures of their kids on these mail outs. Completely understand that. The way you can handle that is either just be a picture of you and your spouse with the caption of something like the kids were camera shy that day or whatever, or take a picture like I had there and just put smiley faces over the face so they don't protect their identity a little bit. Let me see. There's something else. No, that's it. So if you're a married, busy parent with 0 to 3 rentals and you want to find 1 to 4 good cash flowing deals this year, reach out to me. There should be somewhere, wherever you're watching this video, there should be some place for us to get in touch. Today we've been looking at Anderson, South Carolina, but transparently, we work with members all over the U.S., and we would be happy to work with you. So reach out. Let me know how we can do that. You guys make it a great day. See you.